Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
If you want to stop Brexit, there's no shortage of groups to join. To name a few: Open Britain, the European Movement, and Best for Britain. They've been accused of failing to unite under one banner, yet today another campaign joined the crowd. It's called Is It Worth It? And supporters have been parading their campaign bus out and about in Westminster. On its side, a slogan claiming a hard Brexit could end up costing the United Kingdom £2 billion a week. So what is their strategy for overturning Brexit? Our political editor Gary Gibbon caught up with them to find out.
Can I ask you about the number on the side of the bus?
Yes.
2,000 million Brexit will cost.
Okay. Let me just make sure we don't mess this up. Is this too tight for us?
No.
A pro-EU campaign bus tries to squeeze through Westminster streets.
Yep.
The message on the bus parodies the Vote Leave 350 million for the NHS message. But it's the 50-point turn that's getting all the attention.
This is going to be the story of the vote.
A firing squad of cameras lines up to capture the moment. This is one of the smaller groups to have sprung up fighting Brexit, but some MPs and peers turn up to give their support.
Is this the group that's going to stop Brexit?
Yeah.
Where are your Tories?
Only a few of them.
Hands up a Tory.
One Tory does turn up, but he's just passing through.
I think it's outrageous, basically. We've had a referendum, we all know the result was. Why does Adonis think he's God?
The campaign for a referendum is gathering pace.
Crackpot.
I believe it will happen early next year, and I'm very confident that we'll be standing shoulder to shoulder with our German friends.
European movement supporters out on the streets of Cambridge this weekend.
Fight Brexit, save the NHS.
This is one of many pro-EU forces at work, but they're often putting out different messages to different markets. There are regular meetings here at the European Commission headquarters in London to try to coordinate the groups. But one senior figure in one of the campaigns said it's all a bit of a mess. You've got one group with some grassroots, another group that's media savvy, but another group with the really big money that doesn't really want to play with the others. A couple of the other groups that you might have merged with depicted your outfit as backed by big money, city people, a bit arrogant, not ready to get together with the rest of them. Do you recognise that image?
Not really. I mean, we do, we are the most successful at fundraising. And I'm not going to make any apology for that. But, our fundraising has been at all tiers. We've got some very big donors, that's true. We have, a growing tier of middle tier donors, and we're very successful, more successful than any of the others at crowdfunding too.
Yes, they have. They have got very deep pockets and some very rich benefactors. Our benefactors are our people.
Michael Young has spent the last few months as the chief executive of the European movement, trying to bring the pro-EU groups together. In the past, he brought the apartheid regime and the ANC together for the first secret talks.
I think this, Britain's exit from the European Union, if it happens, is as significant for us and for the world as events in South Africa were in their time, both for South Africa and for us all collectively.
You brought the two sides in apartheid in South Africa together, and you're struggling to bring the two sides in the pro-EU movement together.
Well, the game isn't finished.
Talk to top figures in the pro-EU campaigns about how Britain could end up staying in the EU, and their scenarios tend to revolve around one central event. Just after the government in the EU shake on a deal in the autumn of this year, the government has to put that deal to a vote in the Commons, and they hope to defeat it there. You need about, who knows, but maybe between a dozen and 20 Tory MPs to vote against their government in a way that could bring it down.
Yes, we need 20...
That's a tall order, isn't it?
It is, but of course the game is changing by the minute.
If they've defeated the deal in the Commons, the pro-EU groups think there could be a change of Prime Minister, maybe even another election, or, they say, there probably should and would be a second referendum.
And if they're defeated, then it is a massive disruptive event that forces Westminster to finally kind of grip the problem.
Brussels sources say all these dates could significantly slip. But the pro-EU campaigns say Brussels would let them pause Brexit while Britain sorts itself out with that prized second referendum.
We could be looking at the collapse of the government, demands for a second referendum, calls on the European Union to postpone Brexit. I mean, that will be so tumultuous. It'll make the last couple of years look like a tea party, won't it?
It will be, but we are embarked upon something which is going to be tumultuous either way round.
Some people, particularly in the north, still don't understand that, you know, that it's detrimental to the whole country.
Well, we've got groups like us doing this kind of thing.
The European movement was campaigning in one of the highest Remain voting areas in the entire country. Best for Britain says it'll target elsewhere. Private polling by the campaign suggests there might well have been a bit more movement since the referendum than the headline figures suggest. They think that there have been Leave voters coming over to Remain, but they've been balanced out by Remain voters who've simply resigned themselves to Brexit. They're often, the polling suggests, living in the north of England or the Midlands. They might be surrounded by Brexit supporters. They might dread the idea of a rerun, and they're keeping their heads down. But the hopes of the Remain campaign rest on trying to turn round, re-energise these former Remain voters.
Don't you think it's a bit late now?
No.
You don't?
No.
Thank you.
No, you've got to keep calm.
Yeah.
There will be snazzier elements to the campaign than this. The richest campaign group is promising an advertising blitz. But the tide has not turned yet for Remainers, and time is short.
Gary Gibbon reporting. Well, we've invited many a prominent Brexiteer onto the programme to hold them to account over their claims. Tonight it's the turn of the Remainers, and I'm joined by Tony Blair's former head of communication, Alastair Campbell. Alastair Campbell, why use the discredited red bus, particularly when you've got a slightly controversial claim on it in that you have to wait 15 years before it's true?
Well, first of all, the point about the bus, you had Mark Mullet-Brown there from Best for Britain. You had the European movement. That bus has actually come from crowdfunding of people who just feel very, very angry about what's going on.
Yeah, but it's lied once before for another group, which was obviously opposed to you. And why risk it again?
The red bus is a way of illustrating to the people, as that bus travels around the country, that the Brexit that they were told was going to be easy, that wasn't going to cost any money, that we're going to get more money for the health service, start doing trade deals on the 24th of June 2016, that none of that is happening. And the question at the bottom there, is it worth it? And we're having an argument. The reason why these groups are springing up, and actually I don't mind the fact that everybody's not come together and they're all sitting around singing from the same hymn sheet. What you're seeing is a reflection of the chaos and the concern that there is around the country. And so I think that for people to come together, a lot of them, I think, I went down to see I wasn't involved in putting this thing together. I went down to the start today at the Crick Institute, talking to the people who are travelling on that bus. They basically are utterly exasperated about what is going on in our political system and about the damage that's being done to the country, and they want to do something to stop it.
Yeah, but I can hear Brexiteers even saying now, come on, man, we had a referendum. We did. We voted to leave. We did. And leave we will.
I'm sure they'll say that, and they're entitled to say that, although I think it's very interesting that you couldn't get any of them to come on debate tonight. I think they are worried that they're losing the argument because the costs have gone up. They said the bill alone, that's just become parked now. They don't care about that. We're just going to have to deal with that. You're about to talk to Mary Lou McDonald about the Northern Irish situation. A combination of austerity and Brexit and a return of the hard border is going to set us back in the Good Friday Agreement. These are massive issues. The economy
but you
is going to have a whole
dismiss so easily the referendum.
No, I don't.
The fact is the people voted.
The people
and a majority
voted,
said we're leaving.
Correct. And since then, they've seen a government that is saying the 17 million plus people knew what they were voting for when the cabinet can't agree on what they voted for. How can the country come together when you have a cabinet fundamentally divided into pretty much 4 factions now? So I think people are entitled to say, hold on a minute, it's costing us more, it's more chaotic, our standing is falling in the world, the peace process in Northern Ireland is in trouble, And we're entitled now to look at the deal. When you come back with the deal, Theresa May, let's match it against what Boris Johnson and David Davis and Liam Fox...
I can hear David Davis in my ear.
Well,
He'd just say, how can you start rambling about what's going to be lost and how much it's going to cost and the rest of it? I haven't finished my negotiations yet.
Great.
Let me get the negotiations done, and then I'll tell you.
That's fine. And that can be the point at which the country can say, OK, let's have a look at the deal and we can decide whether we will give you our support.
But the country will say, through their elected representatives, how they feel. And MPs, you're really saying to MPs that they're going to have to deny party in favour of country.
Depends what the parties say, and it depends what the parties do. I think one.
Well, we know the Labour Party is not going to say anything.
Well,
at the moment, the Labour Party is completely split.
And I think that's a terrible mistake, because I think that one of the reasons there is all this angst and frustration and things like this are happening and people are funding their own campaigns and so forth is because actually they do feel that both the main parties, there are differences in their positions, but both the main parties are essentially saying, whatever happens, we're out. And millions and millions and millions of people in this country are not happy with that position.
But you're asking for something to happen which is totally un-British, which is MPs will desert their parties and go for what they actually believe in terms of what's in the best interest of the country. And there's just no evidence that that's ever happened.
Well, no, there's plenty of evidence.
Oh, come on, you mean there'll be a vote and dozens of Tory MPs are going to desert their party and vote with that rump of Labour that is not Corbynista?
It's not. Listen, the Labour Party, this is why the Labour Party's position is so key in this. Jeremy Corbyn's not in power, but he has a lot of power within this debate. And all I think that's happening, and the Labour Party do seem to be moving their position, not fast enough for my liking.
You're not hoping that Jeremy Corbyn's going to change his position? I remember 30 years ago him telling me that the European Union was a capitalist conspiracy.
But does he want to be the person who helps facilitate what is becoming clearer and clearer is a hard right Brexit?
He's a man of principle. He will not want to desert it.
The people driving this Brexit now are not Theresa May. It's not even David Davis. These speeches on the road to Brexit, I've never seen a more pathetic lack of intellectual rigour in two speeches as Boris Johnson and David Davis' speech. They're being Theresa May's being driven by Rees-Mogg, by Farage, by Owen Paterson, by all these, the hard right in the Tory party. They're driving this. Does Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party want to be the one that doesn't stand up and oppose that and helps to facilitate what is becoming clearer is a hard right Brexit?
A much bigger question is, does Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party want Jeremy Corbyn to change his mind and get behind the campaign that you're fighting?
Well, I'd love it if he did.
The answer is no.
No, of course the answer is...
And you know it's no.
Yeah, look, I'm well aware that historically Jeremy Corbyn and John McDonnell and others in the Labour leadership have not exactly been pro-European. I'm not an instinctive pro-European. I'm pro-Britain. And I'm pro-standing up...
Come on, you speak French. You're one of those.
I speak French and I speak German. However, that does not make me a bad person, John. I'm somebody who wants to stop the country making what I believe is a catastrophic error.
Alastair Campbell, thank you very much for coming in.
I've been getting away with it all